Hello and welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and I'm your host. Tech on Toast exists to connect hospitality to technology. Search for your best problem-solving tech on our marketplace, listen to both operators and tech experts on our podcast, or just meet up with the brilliant people who are helping innovate the hospitality industry as we enter a new era. Welcome to Tech on Toast. The Tech on Toast podcast is brought to you today by Point One. Point One offers the complete EPOS system for your hospitality business. From mobile order and pay and self-serve kiosks to restaurant and kitchen management, Point One has the solution. Head over to their website today to find out more and get in touch with their experienced team. Enjoy the show. Welcome, guys, to the next episode of the Tech on Toast podcast. And today I'm very happy to be joined by Nico Gaillot.
Gaillot.
Bloody hell. Gaillot, COO Paris Baguette. Nico, how are you?
Chris.
I'm leaving that in as well because it's just a testament of how bad I am at pronouncing. Say it again for me.
Gaillot.
Gaillot.
Yes.
Is that better?
It's fantastic. Yeah, you nailed it.
Anyway, how are you? Nice to meet you again.
I'm great, Chris. Thank you very much for inviting me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it's like 30, I don't know, is it nearly 30 degrees today down here?
Yeah, if it's like Spain.
Yeah, you're looking very well tanned and you look healthy. I'm from Cardiff. That's all we need to say. So, and what's your day look like today? You working or have you a day off? Or
No, I'm going to carry on working from home after that.
it's a nice day for you. See, podcast then. Well, tell us a little bit about you before we get stuck in. We met at a brunch for Toast the other week and it was very nice to meet you. And you sent me a cake, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
I don't think does everyone get a cake when they meet you?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
That's very cool.
That's a way to introduce ourselves.
You're going to be very popular very quickly. Tell us a little bit about you and your career to date. What you've been up to?
Yes, so I've been more in the UK now than in France. So I should be applying for the passport eventually.
All right, you're honorary British. We'll have you anyway.
Yes,
there you go.
It's 26 years in the UK and all in hospitality, actually.
Wow.
So started in Wimbledon. Walk all the way to every single outlet there. Except Carluccio's actually.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we would have welcomed you with open arms.
Yeah, you remember the old Café Rouge there?
Yes, yeah.
For a long time and made my way to the city, with M&B, Bronze Restaurant, and worked in different places like Villandry, and then at the beginning that was quite a journey in Le Pain Quotidien in 2006.
Yeah.
So that was very exciting. We opened 18 stores in 5 years. Nowadays that sounds very small because everyone seems to be opening
15 a week.
15 a week. Yeah. So at the time I felt proud. Now I just feel like let's keep this one.
It's okay. You've only just told everyone listening. Don't worry about it. That's great. And Wimbledon. I worked at Wimbledon. My very first hospitality job was actually at Wimbledon, as in the tennis.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked.
Tennis,
I worked for Gardner Merchant, who I think for older people listening, we're a contract caterer back in the day. I don't even know what they are now, but yeah, I was a waiter and I worked the '96 championships. And it was brilliant. It was when England got into the final of the Euros, the European Championships, and that was hosted in London as well.
Yes.
And it was a really cool year. It was the year of the streaker. One of the girls who used to work with us, who was a waitress, she bet us all in the pub that night that she would streak on the men's final, and we'd all give her our tips. And we all said, yeah, of course we will. And she did it. So we had to give her her tips. There's a short story for you.
I've got a good one about Wimbledon.
Oh, go on.
Actually.
Yes, go on. Carry on.
I was working in a town house, which is now Wagamama in Wimbledon.
Yes.
And then I think it was a World Cup in 97 or 98. 98, wasn't it? And I could barely speak English. And they put me in the shed outside to pour. We had a big garden to pour the pints. And then England lost.
Oh, dear.
And
wasn't to France, was it?
Sorry?
Were we playing France?
No, we're not playing France. You see, I speak English now. No, I'm not sure who they were playing, but then they all start to get very angry and they start to smash absolutely everything. So I had to close the shed and wait for the disaster to finish.
Hospitality.
Yeah, hospitality.
Welcome to England. Go and work the shed, please.
Yes.
Where are you from originally in France?
From Brittany, northwest.
Oh, okay, so you're nearly British anyway. You're close enough. You can see us.
Exactly.
You can wave.
We can wave. Yeah. So pretty much like Cornwall. The only difference there, it rains all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
my mum and dad stay there a bit, and they said, the weather is a bit like home.
Yeah, but we say that so nobody come and see us.
Wow, that's very French of you.
Visit, yeah.
And sorry, I interrupted your career. So you did your opening, your 15, which was a good thing.
Yeah, Le Pain Quotidien was really exciting. It was a great thing. And then we moved to Villandry. That was an interesting concept with so many different assets to the business, from catering, from gourmet deli and fine dining and cocktail. I mean, it's just everything under one roof. And then I went to La Bottega for a little while as well.
There's a theme here.
There's a theme, yeah. I went back to Le Pain Quotidien after 3 years of a break. And that was to open in Leeds, in Ireland, in Oxford, in Bicester, and do a partnership with WeWork.
Oh, Bicester. I mean, my colleague chose in Bicester.
Yeah.
That was a challenge.
Ireland was really interesting, actually.
Really?
That was,
Interesting in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way.
Okay, good.
If you can take the rain as well, yeah.
But this is very weather-based career.
Great people. It did take me a while for them to understand me and me to understand them because of they've got a strong accent.
You've got quite a strong accent still, actually, and you've been here 25 years?
26, yeah.
26 years.
It's not going anywhere.
No, that's it. I mean, I'm from Liverpool originally. No one can really pick it anymore. I've lost most of it.
Oh, you're a Scouser.
Yeah, I'm a Scouser. Yeah, but no one really hears it in me anymore. But which is probably a good thing because I have to talk on the radio as it would be. so yeah, people actually understand what I'm saying. So yeah, and how did you end up at Paris Baguette?
So actually, I was in Vagabond at the time, and I got a call in 2020 from Jack Moran, who used to work at Le Pain Quotidien as well, and he told me, Nico, we're looking at opening Paris Baguette in the UK in 2022. Just keep it in mind.
2 years warning. Thank you.
2 years warning. I say, just keep him in mind because. Actually, I look it up and I love the concept and see everything what they're doing. I love the fact that it's a family-owned business as well.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is having the opportunity to bring a new brand to a new market.
Yeah,
and I can start everything from the scratch, and that's a really exciting project.
And you get all the tech guys chasing you right at the start, right?
Exactly.
Funny story. We were just sitting in Brewdog having a pre-chat, and a friend of mine, Bernard, I'm not going to give you his surname, he's not getting all that PR, who has built something called Holisto. Holisto it is. It's paperless auditing, and it looks brilliant. And it's funny, Nico just sat down to come for the podcast and was hijacked by Bernard selling him his new product. So for anyone listening, please go and check it out, just so Bernard leaves Nico alone. That'd be great. And tell us a little bit more about for people who don't know Paris Baguette,
yes.
What is the model? What do you do?
So Paris Baguette, unknown around here, but it's actually 4,000 units worldwide.
That's insane.
Yes, and so 3,500 in Korea. In China, it's about 300. Singapore, I think about 15. We've got 5 in France. And in the US, they've got about 150, but it looks like they're opening one a week nowadays.
Interesting in France, right? Is it, because I know the French, do they accept Paris? Is there a reason there's only 5?
Yes, because it's extremely competitive in France.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult to make differentiation. So every 2 streets, you've got a bakery there, and the competition is very, very high.
And chains aren't as well received.
Yes.
Is that the right way to say it?
Exactly that. They prefer, local businesses.
Yeah, authentic.
So, authentic, yes.
Yeah.
So they do a fantastic job there in France. I went there, see them meet their baker, and it's quite impressive, But they had to hire a Michelin star restaurant patisserie chef to be able to compete with the competition. And and they're up there. They really do. They deliver.
I love it. And what you? I'm being naughty because I know what you serve. But what do you sell? Don't say baguettes from Paris.
So we do a range of the boulangerie. We do all the pastry, mix of snacking from salad to sandwiches. And then we got the French patisserie element as well. So your éclair, Paris-Brest, millefeuille. Try to say that one, Chris.
No, I'm not playing your game.
No.
I did French A level. I have
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just haven't spoken it since then. That was a long time ago. And also, you are lovely. When I met you at the brunch the other week, you said, I'm going to send you a surprise. And I told all my team in head office, in our office over in Southwark, I said, Nico's sending us something, so it might be a lunch. And when it arrived, basically sent me a cake, and it wasn't just a cake. Describe the sponge to me, because you described it in a certain way.
Yes, so I think what's interesting is the wheat we use is a micro milled, and micro mill is a Japanese technique to get the grain very, very thin. And what's happened is when we mill the grain, it's very absorbent, so you absorb all the water, and then when you bake it, all the water evaporates and replaces with air, and that's why the sponge is so light.
I'm telling you now, it is like air. It was beautiful.
It is. I think I haven't seen anyone who's doing the same thing in the market.
Really. It was so funny because in the office we don't have any cutlery, right? So
yeah.
Honestly, so I saw the cake arrive and I thought, oh, I left it there because I had to go to a meeting. I thought, well, no one can eat it because there's no spoons or anything. I came back, they'd used their coffee mugs. It looked so great, and then they devoured it with their coffee mugs. I told people, if you're listening, you're all sick. But it was absolutely fantastic. And what was really impressed me actually about it was the way it arrived, because it actually arrived perfectly, and it is quite open to damage, right? That kind of product traveling. And what do you use? Do you use? Is it by bike or is it by courier? How is it?
Well, we are currently doing by courier, so we've got our own transport with a refrigerated van,
okay.
Just because it's too fragile. But in order to go out to more deliveries and to reply to the demand, really, we need to go to motorbike.
Yeah.
And we are lucky because in Singapore, after the lockdown, during COVID, they had to find a way to transport the cake safely and on motorbikes because everything is delivered there on bikes. So they actually send us the full manual, the full explanation how to do it. So we got like a collar to hold the cake together. We have like a stabilizer that we put at the bottom of the cake to stop it from moving. And then you need to be very kind to the driver and give him a lot of coffee and tell him just, please make sure this one arrives safely.
Yeah, but it really is, because it's so, and that's when delivery first came along, actually, and you like me, you've been in the industry a while, I was so scared of putting anything that we'd made, and I was at Carluccio's at the time, I think, when delivery was really starting to kick off, and I was, putting a pasta that the chef had lovingly created, or putting any of the deli items actually onto a bike seemed a bit alien to me, and a bit like, well, surely it's not going to arrive like it does on the plate.
Yes.
And often it didn't. Did you experience the same? I don't know. It was always a bit of a paranoia for me, but obviously now everyone's spending a lot of money on packaging.
Yes. I think, the transport is a hit and miss here quite often. So right now we prefer to pay a bit more, take a bit less margin and ensure that the product comes, as it should be. It's a good product, but then if it's demolished by the time you arrive on your plate,
not so good. Or demolished by the staff before I get near it. But yeah. And as you said, you're a global chain. You're quite similar to Marugame in that way, actually. Steve was on the other week, and this wasn't deliberate, actually, but obviously they're a huge global chain outside of the UK and now growing in the UK. You're not dissimilar, are you, in terms of the journey? Did you start in 2000? How early did you start before you opened your first site here in the actual role?
So I started in 2021. I went to train in September. I went to train for 4 months in France, and then went to the US, and then from January. So it took about 8 months to get.
So very similar journey to Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, Steve was off in Taiwan, and he was all over the place. Obviously in the middle. He told that story in the middle of the pandemic, but it's. How was that journey? I suppose coming from what you've done before to going to opening a new brand and being responsible for it in the UK, was that quite a mission?
Yeah, it was. It was a mission, but it was exciting. I think one of the biggest benefit I had is in so many businesses I worked in. I arrived in businesses which are established essentially, which already had their tech. However, it was in Le Pain Quotidien when we just started, we were adding tech, but the tech at the time was great. It was adding value, was helping productivity. But API was not a known word.
Trust me, there's still people now going, what the hell is an API? Yes. Every time I'm in the sales meeting, I hear API.
And I think that was quite critical for me to choose the tech. So what I had in mind is, with all the systems I use in the past, and there are a lot of systems out there, is trying to understand what's going to make my team's life easier. What is it that we, all the mundane tasks we can take out just by choosing the right tech. With the focus of having the managers and the team member to be able to focus on the guest and the service, and us to focus on them as well, and that's how tech supported us with that.
And it's weird because I imagine your background. You have a certain. If you ever meet Nico, you'll see what I mean. But you have hospitality within you, right? I can feel it. You're part of the service. You get it. And I think tech for a while was almost a disturbance in that force. It almost became a distraction, and I think only really now are we starting to see. I think you're talking about integrations and things working better together. Would you agree with that? That it's actually been a bit of a problem rather than a solution?
Yeah, I could not agree more actually, because that was the exact hypnosis I made, because at some point when we had the Force, the FNB, and all these other systems came on board, I was looking at the floor. I said, "Where are my managers?"
They're all looking at data.
They're in the office. They're trying to figure out if their profitability, is okay, if their recipes are correct, if their labor is as it should be.
Yeah.
And they were not on the floor anymore. And I think that's where the evolution in tech has moved forwards, really in a good direction. Because at the time, I think it was a bit more like a trial and error.
Yeah.
But one of the things that helped me also, and I think that's, yes, you got the API, but it's also being able to accept that the system's not going to do 100% of what it says it's going to do. So you have to accept that, your system's going to do 80% of what you need, whether it's to give you your COGS or whatever is your labor. It's not going to, you're not going to press a button and your payroll is going to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because humans interact with it, right? That's the problem. Humans cook the food, and humans order. Actually, do they order the food? They kind of a system probably, but they input to order the food, right? So they are going to make mistakes, like they always have done in this industry, and like they always will.
Yes,
because they're human. And I think you're right. I think tech can take you down that path to fix things, but it's never going to be 100% proof, is it?
Yeah, and I think that's including myself. The minute I start to step away from, I say, look, the system is doing what I need now. That's good enough. I don't need to go down to the pinch of salt that needs to be on my recipe. I'll be okay.
I think I'll cope. You'll probably stop smiling if you go that far. Yes. And what kind of tech stack are you working with then? If you've got POS, History Dino, I don't know what. What are you using? You don't have to mention brand names, don't worry.
Yeah, no worries. No, I think, they're good. Mystery Diner we don't use actually, because, I took the view that instead of to use and pay someone with a spreadsheet and look at, specific point in my business, that I will listen to my guest. And, we do that with feedback, which I think is a great tool. Because it drives your operational agenda. You come in the morning, first thing you do is you check, what your guests say. And that's, for me, that's a value into it. Because
are you it's a counter service, right? So
it's counter service. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got that interaction time between the guest and the customer, the guest and the team member.
Yes. Okay. We deliberately made the move not to have a screen to start with, because all the tech we've got around allowed us to be spending time with a guest. But yeah, we made some choice. The main choice really was which system talk to each other. So we wanted an EPOS that talked to our ATS system, talked to our labor scheduling system, and the same thing, from the EPOS to the FNB system. And that's really the three key one that you need to work together. But then we found, so many other systems that can help and maybe slightly replace some people, or how can I say that?
Replace some time, essentially.
Yeah, but the HR, you'd be surprised, but the HR is online.
Yeah.
So I think if we hire someone in HR, for now we are doing the entertainer, but we will get someone, to look after training and culture, but not someone to actually manage the pure HR.
And I think you talked about the mundane tasks. It's those, and they're important. Whilst they're mundane, they're still important. But I think if tech can do that, if tech can, because everyone goes, you shouldn't replace. Everyone's worried about replacing jobs, but also we're all trying to run profit, right? You talked about profitability before. Yeah. It's very difficult to get in this present, day and age with everything that's going against us. So I think it's sensible, right?
Yes.
And I think people are probably a bit precious about it who aren't in the industry, maybe. I think the people actually in the industry get that, those tasks can be automated. Let's get rid of them. Yes. And let's invest in someone who's human on the floor, talking to guests or making me some money.
Yeah, and I feel when I interview people and I show them, I've got like 4 pages of our tech deck. And then they're like, really? All of this? I don't know how to do it.
You've got a tech deck. I love that.
I've got a tech deck, yes. A full presentation showing you that, it's a one-stop shop. All the admin, it's taken out. So, you still have big businesses in London.
Yeah.
Some of them like 50 site, 100 site, and they're still, scanning passport for their new employee and printing their.
Saving those passports on their phones and on their laptops.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Which is
slightly illegal.
Slightly. And that's quite. So we decided for Paris Baguette, we want to scale up. Obviously, that's the plan for our operation. And in order to do that, we need a one-stop shop. So we should be able to give to for our new store to be able to do it quite quickly. So. Great team of people as well who help us with the menu development and with food safety and.
And do you work with the wider team then? So the team in the States and like global team, do they, or is it more of a reporting thing?
It's more of a reporting. I think what we do is we do share knowledge between us. So so when I told them I need to deliver cakes on a motorbike, they say, okay, I call Singapore. When I thought like I'm looking for an EPOS, they say speak to the States. When we look at product development for the patisserie, they say check in France. So our head of pastry went for 3 months in France to train as well. So I think it's more that's very good. In our company is that we are happy to share all the internal best practice.
And where are you saving time then on tech? I always find it quite interesting because the salespeople will tell you, if you're listening, that when they sell you lovely operators technology, you're going to save X hours on this, you're going to save X hours on that. This will happen. Your life will change. Everything will be good. Where are you actually finding those savings? I mean, are you finding them?
Yes, I think where we find the saving is in admin. It's in admin and in the labor as well. When you opening a store or closing a store right now, for us, you don't need a manager.
Yeah,
it's that simple. And there is no till to count. There is no report to do.
Cashless
it's all cashless. It's all integrated. So essentially, you look after your food safety and health and safety with your checklist, then you place your order, you do your rota, and you spend the rest looking after people and the guests.
So you're nearly paperless, right?
We are, pretty much, yes. Yeah. Yes. We do have a printer, but which we don't own.
Just as a token one, just to have it.
Well, just for the odd one, because that's something I don't like is paper management. I don't like to go in a business where you've got paper telling you everywhere what you need to do. I like the communication. And I encourage my team as well to just speak. Don't.
And obviously, I'm just guessing that you've done 25 years in the industry. You might be not too much younger than me. I don't know. You look younger. But I'm trying to work out because working with this generation, they've grown up with the iPhone, right? They've grown up with all of this technology, whereas we didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry if I'm putting you in the wrong bucket there. But where we might not have. And is there expectation that when they walk in, you've got your tech deck that they're like, good, that's what I want to see? Or are they still kind of like, wow, you do all this kind of...
It's interesting because actually they can get on with it and they're not. I think because our tech is already there.
Yeah.
I don't think they haven't found something.
Is it like seamless though? Is that what I'm saying? So they kind of just go into the role and it makes sense, the tech that's in there?
Yes. We don't really get a question and say, well, why don't we have this or that? Yeah. It's already there. All the team can check their rota, their pay slip, they can swap shift, all of this on their phone. And where I worked before, you will ultimately have people coming to you, which is always close to the team and listen to to their feedback. And they were like, oh, if we were to do that, it will make our life so much easier. But obviously, I'm sure we missed a few things, and there's still more to come. But generally, I think people are quite satisfied that pretty much everything is there.
And are you buying tech with a view to scale?
Yes.
So you're sitting there, you're looking. So you alluded to it briefly. Your buying process is it about? We were talking about referencing actually before we came in today. So tell us a little bit about how you like to look at what you might buy. For instance, not people hijacking you at the table at a bar. Although they look really good.
Well, it does look like a good product.
Yeah, it does look like a good product. So I'm sure you'll speak to him again.
Yeah. Definitely. So we establish a list of criteria of what we want.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not 100 things because most of the system nowadays they can do 100 things. It's about 5 things I want from the system. Then we look at API. That's the one thing we don't negotiate. It has to talk to your system for your core.
What about if they say it's on our roadmap?
Yes, that's not gonna. So that means it's not gonna happen. So don't sell me something that doesn't exist. And we do have some suppliers say, yeah, that's happening. That's happening. Yes.
It's hard, isn't it? Because I suppose everybody's got to start somewhere, and everybody's got to. But for the operator, you don't care.
Yeah.
Like you just want it to work.
I just want it to work. I want it to work now. And our EPOS, for instance, they just started in the UK, but they're doing what we need them to do. Take payment.
Yeah, and you were explaining to me about you went offline at Battersea, was it?
And in High Street, Ken, but yes, in both of the store, we are very lucky.
It's a great Wi-Fi.
Yes.
But like you went offline and your POS was still able to keep you going, basically.
Yes, because the POS is also the merchant. But you know what? He did. We carry on trading for 5 days while lots of businesses were pulling their hair out, trying to get their crash back with credit cards.
Oh my God!
Trying to understand how they get
flashbacks. Are those things that you swipey things?
Yes.
Oh my God! They still exist.
Yeah.
Surely not. Oh my God! For anyone young listening to this, you haven't got a clue what we're talking about right now. But it's Toast, right?
It's Toast. Yeah. And for
with.
me, that was an eye opener. Like being able to carry on trading without internet in 2022, 2023. That's great.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because actually, when you're buying tech or when it's being sold in, you're looking at features, right? Because they're so feature rich. There's so many cool things they can do. But actually, the one thing you really need them for is that.
Yes, it's to walk offline.
Yeah, I don't want to stop serving my customers.
But in all fairness, most of the previous system I use, they all told me, yes, we work offline. And what about your credit card machine? Yes, they work offline. But actually, when you go offline, they don't talk to each other.
No.
So
the transactions don't. Yeah, and I've been through that, and I'm sure you've been through that. That they sit in the ether, and it's the worst thing because you've got these transactions that sit in the PDQ that just don't end up in the POS, right? So you end up with this horrific end of night when you're Zedding or whatever it's called these days.
Yes.
Where you're Zedding off at the end of the night and you're sitting there, nothing balances. It's probably your worst nightmare. Then you do need a manager to close.
Yes. But the Z report don't exist for us anymore.
Really?
No more.
I'm
no
so
need of
old.
that.
What happens then?
Z
What
report,
happens?
yes.
It just goes. It's done.
It's done. Yeah, but it goes straight from the because the credit card machine and the POS are the same thing.
Yeah, so
there's
just
there's nothing to
Z.
report.
Wow. Okay, I feel like I missed a few years I wasted a few years in my career Zedding. God, he's stapling this, stapling that, putting back in the till. Oh my God, the till. No one calls it the till; it's the POS. But anyway, very interesting. And do you reference other people? Steve mentioned this in the last podcast that actually he values other operators' opinions.
Yes.
Sounds obvious, but
I mean that's. Once we made a pre-selection, that the next step is to go to your network, and it works both way, that's really where you make your decision. And we are talking, so we just onboarded a new partner, and suddenly even actually my IT guy say, hey, actually, did you try this system? And then talk to another guy from another business, and I said, well, I've tried it. That's not as good as what you're going on with, and so that's really where you get the true value of what you're going to get for, because they will vouch for it, they will put their word for it, and it's a small world. I think that's the thing. Hospitality
it really
is,
world, and I think that's the interesting part actually. That I think that's quite challenging for the suppliers, obviously, because everyone makes mistakes, right? And things can go wrong and things break. I had a guy, Matt, who runs something called UDA, Matt Grimshaw, and he talked about told a really cool story about the fact that what your threshold is for reliability with tech. So when it breaks, and he said, well, the reality is Google's breaking all the time, Slack's breaking all the time, Teams is breaking, but you just don't feel it like you would when your EPOS breaks because it's direct implement on you. He said, so it's actually, the reality is that everything's breaking all the time. It's just where is your yes and no point to that? And yours is obviously when you're offline in the middle of a busy service.
Yes. Well, I think now I feel safe, I don't have to worry that if we go offline, I don't have to worry. So, what else can go wrong after its power? Is your electricity goes down and there's not much you can.
Yeah, pretty much, there's nothing much worse than that, is there?
Yeah, that's everything else seems to work now. So I don't have to worry about this side of the operation, which we know how stressful it gets. So.
It really does. And I'm really interested as well and I didn't write this down in your question yet, but I'm going to ask you anyway. In adoption, we talked about it a bit there with the young people working with you in Paris Baguette. But so if you buy something new, and all your tech relatively new then, pretty much within a year, I suppose, 18 months. And how quickly do they buy into it, or is that your job? Do you enable, or the suppliers helping you do that? How quickly are they onto the system and understanding it and getting the return on investment that you were promised? Because obviously you buy it saying, okay, this is going to do this. So adoption's always an issue, I think, for a lot of tech guys when they're selling in. How did you make your guys kind of pick it up straight away?
Well, the guy I work with use most of those systems, so they all kind of work the same way. So it's just to find your way around it, and after so not all the systems are perfect. Some needs more time than others. But I think it's sitting down with them, going through the whole system, but most importantly, the partnership with who you're working with.
Yeah,
because really what I want to do is to be able to pick up the phone, mainly in the early days and say, that's not working, I need an answer now. No, I don't want to go through support and log a ticket.
We were just talking, weren't we? Because you had a specific issue you were trying to fix, and you were trying to get your cakes on e-commerce, basically.
Yes.
And you said, I went to Shopify to have a look.
Yes.
And no one wants to speak to you, do they?
No. I need to sign up. I need to pay £1 a month and I can cancel at any time. But then I just want to speak to someone, and that's not an option.
It's crazy.
And it's it's one of the biggest player out there.
I know. I just think if they knew Paris Baguette were on the other end trying to sign up to something, so if anyone's listening, actually, he doesn't want a contract, doesn't want a year sign up, just wants some flexible help to get his cakes on a bike or on e-commerce for 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months. Reach out, please, because that would really help, because Shopify aren't helping. The global monster of Shopify aren't doing what they should do.
Well, yeah, unless I want to go through the whole setup. I mean, I did try. I gave it a try.
But you shouldn't have to, really, should
I
you?
upload a picture of one of the cake. I put a price on it. And then to move forward, I think I may not find my way around it. I need to sign up. And I said, well, I don't want to sign up. I want to try.
I think it's brilliant. And on that, how do you measure then if you're happy with your technology? And is there a metric against it, or is your team the metric?
I think my team is a matrix. If one of the big thing when I started with all the tech is when you're all in the early days that we were mentioning earlier, and they were like, we don't have time. We don't have time because we have to do this reporting. We don't have time because of this. Now there seems to have time to do the other task, which is mainly to focus on the front of the house. So I think they are my barometer. We are a new business, so are we performing better? I think where it helps me is to know that, well, at the end of the day, or off peak, there's not much I can save because I already optimize this part of the business. So it's just down to people afterwards. So I think it's more like a.
No, I get it, and I think.
I don't have a number. I think that says.
Well, you're really young as well, right?
Yes.
You and the Paris Baguette in the UK,
Yes.
but it's very hard, isn't it, without 3-4 years under your belt to say, look, this is where we were, this is where we've got to. So it's kind of hard. What's the plan for growth? Are you doing more sites in London, or?
Yeah, we're looking at by 2030 to 200 sites.
What did you say?
2030.
What?
To open 200 sites. So the US is on track for 1,000 sites by 2030.
I tell you that every tech guy listens to this, there is just went, excuse me, how many sites?
Yeah, it's a great business. In the US, we are in Skyfox last week, and we are the best bakery.
Very cool.
Franchise. Thank
Give
you.
me a round of applause. There is a button that does a clap.
In the US.
There you go. I suppose your other job then isn't, obviously the tech will scale with you, but actually when you look to grow, there's going to be a big team growing around you.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to hire more people, right? I'm guessing you're not going to run.
No, we do. But actually, it's not that many. Currently we don't have a office as such.
Yeah.
We don't need an office as such because everything can be done pretty much from the store or from your laptop. But no, you're right. There are some people that we will need. Mainly for someone to look after people as well.
Yes.
Right now we're doing it. We love being close to people, and it's not like we're going to go anywhere. But as you grow, unfortunately, you have a bit less time. In your own store.
It's exactly what you were talking about with tech before. It's the same thing. I think your focus has to shift a little bit because you're managing different things.
Bigger beast. But no, we will having as a store expand. We're opening next year. Hopefully, we're looking at 5 or 6 sites.
Wow.
So Yeah,
did the pandemic delay you then a little bit? Did it, or was it planned after that anyway?
I mean, it was conveniently planned.
Really? Okay.
In 2020, it was planned for 2022. So
Right, okay,
it was
fair enough.
after
Some time to plan.
pandemic.
And are you going to stay just in London, or are you going across the UK?
Across the UK, I think we've done so we got 6 suppliers.
Yeah.
So again, to make it easier for our team, and we've got the distribution arm to go anywhere in UK, not in Ireland just yet, but.
You have Irish experience with you?
A little bit, yes.
So you'll be
And
able
I've
to come
got,
out there.
good friends in Ireland as well, so that should help.
That's brilliant. I didn't realise you were going that big, but that's fantastic.
Yes.
Good luck. You're going to need it. But it's a fairly simple operation, isn't it, Nico? It's easy.
Yes. It's people and quality of the product. That's what we focus on. So that's where the tech helps us is to focus on those 2 things. So ensuring that we get the best product, we serve the best product, and we have the best people serving them.
I think
looking after our
just a
guests.
simple business must be a joy to run. As in, some people, I like a boring business, So Carluccio's was fantastic in its day, but it was so complex. There was so many moving parts in restaurant, deli, bar, and I was just talking to you before about how we tried to pick that apart at one point and rebuild the labour model. It was horrific. But great business, but simple business must be, to scale, is a lot more interesting, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is. And what's interesting nowadays, I feel like the general manager job right now, it's the easiest job, within our 4 walls. That's pretty simple now. You can just focus on your... They're essential in a business. We like them to be the mayor of the town, so they know everybody. So Quentin in Battersea goes on a daily basis, and go and visit all the store. There's 110 retailers there, so he's got still
like
a bit
you would
to do.
in France, right? Like the local baker knows everybody, yeah?
And he organizes networking event But interestingly, nowadays, I find it quite difficult to find managers who actually, I don't need you to be all tech-orientated because, all those works now.
It's all automated.
But actually, big personality, and be there, be hospitality-focused, and there's less and less of that.
I agree. And I don't just think it's hospitality. We've been hiring for Atolo over the last year or so in my other business, and we found the same, that actually finding people we're willing to send into the market with our brand name that we're happy with, and it's not that they're not lovely people, it's just that energy.
Yes.
But maybe the pandemic changed that a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it shifted people different ways. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but there may be a piece of marketing there to do, because really I think that the job has evolved so much.
True.
I think, like we say earlier, if you asked 10 years ago, it will be an AFD. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. I had a podcast called the AFD before this.
You will do a 14, 15-hour shift. At the end, you will handle the money back in the morning at 9, go to the bank, then do your rota on an Excel or a spreadsheet, come work out your costs.
I genuinely can't even believe I did it. But I really enjoyed it. And I can't... And when you talk about it like that, it actually feels quite tiring, right? And very repetitive as well. But it wasn't. It didn't feel like that. But I know it wasn't right, what we were doing back then.
Yeah, and now if... I don't mean the role is simple, because, it's still people. You still have to manage people, look after people. People are complex. But actually, in terms of... all the administration and all those tasks that are associated with it, everything is done for you. Even, you wrote a copy and paste from the last week, or use a smart scheduling and
it's the true essence of hospitality again, isn't it? And that's what tech is doing for us, I think. It's bringing the general manager back to the floor, actually, and put them in front of customers again. And I think... You must remember you worked with people in the past who'd rather be in the office than on the floor.
Yes,
yes. I've worked with managers in my past, like area managers as well, who want to be in their car, not in the restaurant. They just didn't enjoy it. I just don't think they liked it. They liked the admin process. They were good at it, and they were good at moving a needle from a laptop, but not in front of people. I fed off people. I was only ever as good as whoever I was standing in front of. And I think that's the true essence of hospitality. And I think that's what you're talking about when you're saying that those people aren't existing, or not existing, but they're not coming to us anymore, maybe. Because maybe they don't love restaurants as much as we do. Oh,
yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, I think it's a perception that I think it's years of hospitality where, it was tough, it was long hours, it was exhausting, and there's still business who run like this, unfortunately. But where now, for example, we only do 40 hours contract, and nobody works more than 40 hours. And that's if they say, well, I want to work more, I say, well, you need to go and
Get a
for
second
another job because we want you to have a balance. Where before it would be, don't leave, the office before the boss leaves, because
if someone said to me, you only work 40 hours, I'm like, have I been fired? I do 80. What are you talking about? Yeah. So, but no, I think and it's really admirable, right? And I think to stick to that as well must be challenging, because you must have times where you're thinking, oh God, I just need them to do that extra. I'm down this week. I need an extra 10 hours out of this person.
No, do you know? I
He's
think
too
we were
nice.
lucky because we started. Nobody knew any different. That's how we started. And we're flexible as well, not just 40 hours. It could be 8. So we start with an 8-hour shift, and after you can go 16, 32, whatever it is. And but no, all the full time are on 40, and no one does one more hour.
Love it.
And we don't ask them. And if they do, we accumulate, and after a while they take a loo day.
So I'm going to quit Atolo and Tech on Toast. I'm going to go work for Paris.
Yes. or in France in 35 hours.
I'm going to France then instead, if they'll have me. Right, last question. If you had to give any advice to someone in a similar role to you who's actually, and I think new brands come into the UK and new brands building actually is quite common, isn't it? As you were saying before, there seems to be an explosion again of new brands coming up. What kind of advice would you give people, not just in tech, but just, generally for taking on that kind of role? Because it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think the main thing is reach out to a network first, because that's where most of the knowledge and the resources will be. They are the one who's going to, they're not going to try to sell you a product. They will tell you what the product does. And then I'd say one of the key things for our success in Paris Baguette is, yes, it is about people, but I do have a guy with me who Ed, who is great because he's operational and tech.
Yeah.
And I love tech, but at some point, he lost me with all those the CRM now, and all these different pieces of. And I say, I can't. This is too much. Can you look after it? And he's good at it. So I think if you do have someone really switched on with tech and understand how all those systems works, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a 20 years old. I'm not doing age discrimination, but I think it's someone who's got baggage, someone who's seen different systems, knows, understand how they.
I'm pointing at me when he said baggage.
No, and understand how they work, and then you can make progress. Because even with all this knowledge, you will still get frustrated by having system that they don't do what they say they're going to do. Yeah. And for those ones selling the system out there, be true to what you do. I always tell them, I say, please don't need to sign a contract. Yeah. Don't give me a 2 years contract. I won't sign more than 1 year, but ideally I don't even want one. Yeah. Because if you believe in your product, then you don't need one. I don't sign a contract with my guests when I sell a croissant. I say, it's going to be good. I'm confident. Go for it.
I love that. That's a really nice way to end, actually. That is so true, isn't it? Yeah. That I believe, actually, that what I've just served you is good enough.
It's good.
You'll be back.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Nico. Look, if anybody wants a free cake...
yes, come to me. Nico@freecake.com.
I thought he was going to do it then, but he didn't. Yeah. But they can find you on LinkedIn, I presume, stalk you there?
Yeah, on LinkedIn and on parisbaguette.co.uk.
I love it. And do you know when the next site will be? Do you know where the next site will be, or you're not allowed to say?
Well, no, most likely central London, but we have, if you're interested in Essex, in Richmond, just outside of London.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yes.
I think next time I see you, might be a little bit more stressed. You can have more sites.
Yes.
Today he looks very summery and he's got a good vibe. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate your time. You're always a busy guy. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.